This is my fabric closet, which means this is where a lot of my fabrics come to live. I would say the majority of them. This is not all my fabric. In the garage, I have 7 more bins of fabric. 7 more bins that are not the little ones like this. No, they are the larger ones like this. Here's some of my dyed fabrics. Exciting, right? And some of my rust fabrics. But mostly, it's a lot of fabric just sitting here on the shelves, not being used, as well as all those bins out in the garage. Let me tell you something. 2 years ago, none of this existed. 2 years ago, I never even had a sewing machine, had never heard of slow stitch. Fabric just wasn't even on my radar. I loved paper, and that's what I wanted to do, was play with paper. But the idea of, dyeing some of my own fabric and creating something out of nothing with my fabric never existed. Why am I making this video today? Because, as you might assume from looking at this, let's look back here. These are all my vintage doilies and vintage linens. Look at all the vintage lace. There's so much down here. This is all my silk. I have, oh gosh, and there's more in the studio. I just realized, yeah, my leather is in the studio. All my wool is in the studio. But there's too much stuff. You don't need this much stuff. Great way to save money in your art studio, in your craft room, in your life. Don't buy more stuff. Learn how to use what you have. And you know what? It's okay. It really is okay, unless you've put yourself in a horrible financial bind. It's okay to let go of stuff that doesn't work for you anymore. I went through all my material, and what's left is stuff that I'm pretty sure I'm going to use. I may still get rid of a lot of the pattern things, because what I'm discovering is that I like having solid color fabric that I can then dye myself, because commercial fabric doesn't do it for me. And a lot of this isn't yardage that I went to the fabric store and bought. A lot of this is clothing that I have recycled. And again, this is all, look at this. Look at this, it's crazy. You don't need as much as you think you need to create. If I could tell myself from years ago anything about building an art practice, about building my art room, it would be, don't buy everything just because you see somebody use it on a video. Experiment with what you have. I could have torn apart just one old sheet and discovered the joy that I get from rust dyeing. It's awesome, although it's a pain in the neck to sew through. I could have torn apart one sheet and discovered how much fun it is to dye fabric with alcohol inks or with distress sprays, because these are not pieces of clothing. They'll never be clothing. Isn't that awesome? I just love that. You don't need as much as you think. And I've struggled with that all my life. I've struggled with delayed gratification. I want what everybody else has, and I want it right now, even if I'm never going to remember what I was going to do with it when the time comes. I am much more excited about these fabrics that I have dyed from old sheets and old shirts and just tablecloths and what have you. These really excite me. So, I don't know, maybe what's the lesson here for me? Going forward in 2021, I'm going to try to not buy so much stuff. I'm going to try to use up what I have. I admit I do have a few orders coming in for the end of the year, but my goal for 2021 is not to buy more stuff. My goal is to learn how to use what I have and to be okay with letting go with materials that no longer serve me. It's okay to not beat yourself up. It's okay to let go of the stuff that doesn't work for you, and then instead continue to use the stuff that you really love. because that joy, it's going to embed itself in the work you do, whatever kind of work you do. If you love the materials that you're playing with, you're going to get excited when you create. And if you feel like you are creating out of a sense of obligation, it's going to show. So create with love, create with materials you love, and don't beat yourself up if you did like me and you went crazy going shopping for stuff that it turns out you really didn't need. Let me know, what's your current obsession with stuff? And do you find that you might need to destash some of that stuff that no longer serves you? Go create something amazing. I know you have it in you. I know I have it in you. I don't have it in you. I have it in me. This is what you get with unedited videos. But that's another goal for 2021, and I'll talk about that later. Go create. Go be amazing. Most of all, go create with joy. I'll see you next time.